these hard times that are coming, it's a little worrisome for me,
Hmm.
and you got to let me know if we start going a little into the deep water where we can't be, but um it was something that I was just talking to with a supervisor of mine recently, but Ronald Reagan said in a speech that if America falls, which I think it's going to, if America falls, that means that there's no more places to run as far as freedom goes,
The
you know?
last stand of defense.
Yeah. And that's subjective on its own, whether or
Hmm.
not America is the last place of freedom or however people want to interpret it. But, you know, I'm in the Navy. I swore an oath that I was going to protect the Constitution, and I do stand by it.
Hmm.
Whether or not I'm in the Navy, whether or not I'm an American citizen, uh, I know what's in the Constitution, and I agree with it. And I would think that most people would agree with it, but most people don't, or a
Hmm.
lot of people don't, I should say. But it, I agree with what Reagan said. Like, where else is there now? That's the kind of the thought that I have recurringly. If I were to leave the country, where would
Hmm.
I go? There's not another place that I know of that I can reliably exercise my Second Amendment of having my own weapon, you know, that I'm not going to get taxed out the ass
That you could
and
speak
forced.
freely.
Yeah, that I'm going to be forced to live a certain way, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know of a place where that's solid. Like, I'm going to go there and I'm going to have that freedom of just being me
Hmm.
and leaving it alone. And that's fucking scary because it's
Yeah.
like if America falls, that's it.
Hmm.
So I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
No, yeah, no, I agree with that 100% because it's like the best example that I could honestly use right now in regards to that is whatever political side you're on, there, no matter what, on both sides, people have talked crap on Trump and they've talked crap on Biden. The fact that people
Hmm.
in the US are allowed to even say anything negative about their president shows that. Because, for example, if you try to speak negatively of your government in Russia, in North Korea, or just like obviously those are two like just like hyper focused ones, but just in general with any other
Yeah.
country as well, just for speaking against your government, you could be very well imprisoned. You could be sentenced to life, like North Korea. You could be sentenced life in prison, as well as like your next 3, 4 generations. They could be sent to prison, labor camps, and everything. And so it's, I believe that wholeheartedly. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and act like America is not perfect. We have done very messed up stuff in the past, and some things still continue to this day. But it's like the balance of the goods and evils. And I do believe that we're like one of the last standing defenses against tyranny and just everything in that nature. Because, like, statistically speaking, on like, and talked about this with David Lane, but America has the most freedoms than really anywhere else. Like the American press has way more freedoms and protections in than anywhere else in the world. The American people have more freedoms and liberties and have more of a focus on freedom and liberties than really anywhere else in the world. That's why there are places like Japan, for example, that have become that have become focused on like Western ideas and like mimic some of our ideas because of that. That's why there's protesters all throughout the world that are, regardless of what people feelings are in regards to America, there are still protesters around the world that are genuinely being oppressed and that are propping up the American flag as a symbol of hope and freedom. And it's, if America was to fall, it definitely would be a devastating thing. And of course, this is all speculative, open thinking. This isn't anything foundational. So it's, of course, we're going to be open to the criticism, and except when, if and when we're wrong, of course. Um, I would say, though, I would say my role in all of this is that I seek to break that cycle, because doesn't matter how many doubters there are, I believe wholeheartedly that we can achieve peace, that we could fix a lot of these things for the better. We just need more people to lead by example. And it's, if I got to carry some of the burden, if I got to take some of the criticism and hate for that, then so be it. But no, I don't know. I think we are beautiful. I believe that we are so much more. I believe that we could break this cycle of all this carnage and fighting and everything. I believe that we could fix a lot of the negative aspects of America, and I believe that we can achieve world peace. We just need enough people to be able to push that and to instill the ideas into the masses, because it's like, for example, like we talked about in the previous episode as well, there's always people now on YouTube, mainstream media, or everything that are trying to influence you. And like clickbait, for example, is honestly a pretty good example of yellow journalism, which was a coined term back during the Spanish War of 1898. But essentially, yellow journalism focuses on sensationalism, whether it's romance, violence, war, stuff like that. And the clickbait and everything will be like exaggerate like drama, stuff like that. So we have all these people influencing people to like almost resort to these bad behaviors. And if we have more people that could influence and instill great ideas, great beliefs, great morals, values, and ethics into the masses, then I think we're very well capable of achieving it. But we need more people speaking out for it. Because I will stand firm on the belief that we are all infinitely and equally capable of achieving greatness. And we could do anything we set our mind to, but it's also a two-way street. You have the potential, but you need to be able to overcome your own, like you are always your own enemy. So you have to overcome yourself in order to tap into that potential. And yeah, it's but that's why I regardless of how small this podcast is, how little people see it, I will continue to speak out and push the very narrative of peace and do my best to help instill that concept into the mind of the masses, because I will always push and advocate for peace, beauty, love, and unity, because that has been what's constantly pushed us for so long, regardless of the chaos, regardless of all the bad things. It has been the peace, the desire for love, the desire for unity, the desire to be better, that has already gotten us so far in existence. And that's why I feel like mankind is almost we're right now we're at that last step at the end of the world, and we're going to take a leap off the edge of the world, and we're either going to leap and fall into madness or leap and reach greater heights. And going through these hard times, I think, is what we'll find out.
No, yeah, I guess that's the exciting part of going through a bad time is to see where we come out on the other side, right?
Yeah.
So no, that's very inspiring actually, just to think about that. And maybe that's where the balance is, you know, in being as amazing as we are and knowing that people are capable of achieving infinite excellence. That's also, you kind of have to take on board the idea that also humans are capable of infinite terror and
Hmm.
badness, and that every day not committing some type of bad or supporting some type of evil is a step towards excellence. So
Hmm.
yeah, no, that's that is pretty amazing. And you kind of just put it into words right there for me as you were saying it, and it hit me pretty heavy. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And yeah, I mean, there's always going to be an infinite level of terror, but yeah, there's always going to be an infinite level of purity. And we just got to be able to find the balance of it. And that's the way that we find that balance is like exactly what me and you are doing right now, having conversation. Like, doesn't matter, we come from different backgrounds, we have different sets of beliefs, ideas, or thoughts, but like I'm telling you right now, I hold the utmost respect for you. I think you're a wonderful human being. I think you're a great motivator as well with the progress you made with lifting. And that's a standard that I hold and I truly believe. And I believe everybody can be the same. We could all be great, but we have to be able to look inward and see what we can do for ourselves. Because a pretty good example, if I remember his name correctly, Victor Frankl. He was a Jewish psychologist that was actually a unfortunate sufferer of the Holocaust. He was actually in Auschwitz and another camp, and then almost his entire family died off in the Holocaust. But he had said what he had noticed while at Auschwitz is that many of his peers that were saints before, they either changed into just cruel, bitter people, or they stayed the same and they stayed just as pure, innocent, and loving. And he ultimately came to the conclusion that our environment and the peer pressure, the pressure of the masses and their ideas, and just the flawed issue of the greater good, even though that's been abused several times before in the past, all of this stuff only affects us if we allow it to. At the end of the day, I am in control of my own destiny, and I am in control of my own thoughts and feelings. The stuff that goes on externally can only affect me if I allow it to. And coming from a Holocaust survivor who witnessed true horror, I would say potentially the just a sample of that infinite terror, for the fact that he himself came through such pain and suffering and was able to come out with such a truth that you are in control of yourself, you are in control of your emotions and everything. I think that's wonderful, and I think that's just a great example in general.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those things, like I was saying before, is just that an evil can motivate someone to do infinite good, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
that's yeah, it's kind of hard to speak on those things, especially with such an example like that.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who went through the Holocaust, there's probably not many other people alive today that could say that they've also endured such a thing
Mm-hmm.
or something to that magnitude, you know? So I guess speaking back to the whole thing, like feeling underqualified to speak, right? There's just maybe that's part of it. Like I don't know, we haven't gone through enough lately to be able to speak truths anymore, to do good, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because we haven't experienced enough bad. But yeah, that's kind of as I was saying before, it's the only silver lining to a dark or a bad time is that you're probably going to come out on the other side a better person,
Yeah.
uh, or able to do more. You've seen more. You've hit an all-time low, a new PR of a low. So now you are equally as able to hit a new PR high, and it kind of sucks. But perspective is just it's reality, you know.
Mm-hmm.
However, something affects you. Okay, I'm derailing right now, but yeah, I'm
No worries.
derailing. I was mixing together two thoughts, but
Oh
no,
no,
it was something else that you said earlier, having how allowing the outside world to affect you. You
mm-hmm.
know, it can change you, or you don't have to let it change you. But that's it just keyed me into that thing, and that whole perspective is reality,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets truer and truer. And I used to hate that statement because it was like, well, if I look like I'm not paying attention in class, so the teacher, you know, neglect or disciplines me for it, then that's kind of ass if I was actually paying attention in class, but I just looked like I wasn't. But
Yeah.
it just perspective is reality in a lot of other ways that are a little bit more true than that. So yeah.
Yeah. It's like the am I just gonna be an old dog? Just I have bad qualities and that's just it is what it is. Are you gonna stick to that perspective, or are you gonna change your mindset and be like, I've had the privilege and the opportunity to experience the life that I don't want, and I know the life that I do want, stuff like that. It's just, yeah, it's all about perspective and everything. But yeah, it's funny that we ended up getting into such a deep philosophical conversation.
No, yeah, I mean, I feel like that's kind of just in my nature, actually. So it might just lend nicely. You know, we'll see where the podcast goes. Maybe it always ends up deep like this, or maybe it doesn't. But definitely, at least any podcast involving me,
Yeah.
it's probably gonna get to this point at some point. But I'm always having these thoughts, and I'm not the most vocal person. Uh, I would say majority of the time I'm not the most talkative person, and I always say that I'm not very good at conversation. But it's because I spend most of my time in my head thinking about
Yeah,
these things and talking to myself, I guess. So,
yeah, and that almost comes in canon with like just being afraid to speak your mind and be yourself nowadays without being so judged and attacked or canceled or anything that of that nature. And it's just that growing fear of the external world doing that to you. And and then that breeds like the echo chamber within your own head and everything. Like I'll admit wholeheartedly, everything that I read here and everything I learn is nothing but an echo chamber, and I could be entirely wrong on it. But like what we're doing right now with the conversation, that's how we disseminate and break through it. And it's honestly, even if we're like way off tangent or completely wrong on some of the things that we've talked to, at least we're having the conversation, and we both know inside our hearts that we have the utmost good intentions to just be good and to do better and to hopefully help people in the progress.
yeah, and like I don't know, you're not ever gonna find your way to the right answer if you
Hmm.
just hide all your stuff inside and never really like figure it out. Like you got to be
Yeah,
wrong once in a while, and
exactly.
yeah, no, I'm fully uh ready to be wrong at any time, and just depends on when it happens, I guess. But it can
Hmm.
sting. But that's how you learn. That's how
Yeah,
you figure out what's right because it's got to sting a little bit when you're wrong, you know.
exactly.
So
And that's where like humility comes into play, and then like circle back again. That's why it's like my life goal is to learn everything, but yeah, I accept at the same time I could be wrong about everything. And it's, just having that humility and, accepting when I'm wrong and everything. Cause like I've literally, it's in the about me page of my channel. It's almost in every episode that I have. I have the constant focus that I could be wrong, and that's 100% okay. I'm perfectly okay with being wrong. I'm not okay with like being targeted, cyberbullied, stuff like that. Then I will stand up for myself because I won't sit idly by. But I'm okay with being wrong. I'm not going to have all the right answers, nor will I act like that. And I don't have a college education. I don't have all this grand experience that all these greater intellectuals have and everything. All I have is just the information I have at hand, what I could find online, and my own head and my ability to disseminate the difference between fact and fiction. But at least having this conversation is just the best way to go, and it's having the mutual respect, for example, that you and I have for each other. That's the biggest thing, because like you were saying that you're trying to talk to somebody, and once you put down your phone and looked at them and then you started to chime in, they then went on their phone and almost like they're afraid to have the conversation because they're afraid to be proved wrong or anything like that. But it's just a part of life. You either ignore your flaws, your when you're wrong and everything, and you only dig yourself a deeper hole, or you at least take the criticism, you admit when you're wrong, and it could be taken with a grain of salt, it could be bittersweet and anything of that nature. But I mean, so long as at the end of the day, you are a good person, you admit that you're wrong, and you're willing to better yourself, then that's the most important thing. That's all that matters. Because I believe 100% you are a fantastic human being, Adam. You're a good man. And I will hold that standard with everybody as well. I believe everybody is infinitely great and capable of achieving beyond their wildest dreams. We just, we got to be able to tap into that potential, break through the vices, break through the sins, and break through the clouds that are blocking all that out.
and you're being so flattering, by the way. I'm gonna have to like take you out to dinner or something.
Oh, thanks. On that cheap date.
But but that I think we're, at least for me, just through this conversation, we're coming really close to this like epiphany that I'm having right now. And it's that because I don't know, I'm sure you have, but there was a long time for me when I was in the dark spot and I was on the other side of the spectrum from where I think we are now.
Mhm.
And it's the I don't know if it's a burden or just part of being in the position, but to be somewhere where you are achieving great things. I hate because I'm trying to be humble, so I don't want to say that like I'm achieving great things, but for myself, I'm you know killing it out here. I used to not be able to run half a mile. I didn't lift any weights. I was 60, 70 pounds overweight, whatever. You know, whenever I was there, I wasn't, I don't think I was able to achieve great things because I didn't believe that I could and I didn't believe anyone else could. I just thought it was this crazy outlandish place that only celebrities got to, and that you needed steroids, that you needed surgery, whatever it was to achieve what you wanted. There had to be some little booster or handicap that you got.
Right.
And this method doesn't always work out, but I guess I'm calling out you, the viewers out there who are being closed minded and not believing in other people because you're not believing in yourself. Right.
Yeah.
And it goes in with what I call pessimistic nihilism, because I think there's two camps of nihilism. There's the camp that says why, and then the other camp that says why not. Because
Right.
the basis of that is that at the end of the day we're all going to die, nothing matters, right? That's a nihilist. But you can take that from two perspectives. You can say it's all going to end, so why does any of it matter? You can either say, well, then I have no reason to work out because I'm just going to die one day. But you could also look at it as, well, I'm going to die one day. So why not work out? Why not try to feel as good as I can
Make
while
the
I'm
best of
here?
it. Yeah.
So that's where I used to be, was in the pessimistic nihilist. I looked
Yeah.
at the world as, why are you all doing this? It doesn't matter. Like, you don't need a six pack because it's this unachievable thing that requires
Mhm.
so much effort. But it's like, why not put in the effort? Like,
Mhm.
you're a human, you hit the lottery being a human,
You're already one
so
in a million person.
yeah, so just you gotta step back for a second and think that you really are capable of anything you put your mind to, and you have to believe that these other people were in a position similar to you at one point. They were a
Mhm.
baby that could not run a 6 minute mile, or Usain Bolt as a baby was just as useless as you were as a baby. So you gotta grind it out, and you gotta
Mhm.
believe, that you can get somewhere as well. And it's a hard transition to make, and it's shitty, and like, me saying this is probably pissing people off because I can feel old fucking cringy me from 2009 getting pissed off at me saying this. So I don't know. It's this rough spot that we're in, trying to preach to the choir,
Yeah.
and it's like, I was just unable to hear this back then. I don't know
Yeah.
why. Like, I can't connect the piece because there was this little gray area. I was so low, and then I had to go through a transition to get back to a point where I could even say these things genuinely. And I don't know where that little, like, transition, like, what causes that? Like, how can I get someone from here to the transition so they can get to where we are? I don't know,
Yeah.
but
You just lead by example. And that's
exactly.
why, yeah, that's my mentality with world peace. It's okay if everybody can doubt, and if nobody thinks it's possible, I'll believe for them. I'll lead by example and show that it is possible, regardless of the obstacles or anything that's to come. Because I believe 100% that it is. And this will also kind of go in can with like what you're talking about. But um, I was actually wanting to read this. This is actually a little poem that I wrote. I think I was like 18, 19 years old. But I don't know. I feel like it goes really in canon with like all this deep philosophical stuff that we're talking about, as well as kind of like what my goals is and motivation is. Because my perspective, the work that I do in my podcast right now, I'm not only investing it in today's generation or the coming ones. I'm seeing my work as something that could either remain or be buried and resurface centuries from now. That's how far into I'm looking at it. But um, this thing that I wrote, it's called "The Father of Time" Part One, and it goes like this: The Father of Time. An hourglass shattered above my crown, making no sound as the sands of time race to the ground. My life hastens as time rushes away. Stay, please, and defy gravity. Become free in motion and slow so I can love every minute instead of counting the years that's turned to seconds. 20 years it's been that's gone in a flash. The clocks wind down and I'm forced to count the hours that's passed into the past of untold tales that have chosen to set sail into the sea of history where nothing can ever return. I have already begun my journey across the sea to capture a dream so long sought that was explained in a bashful sonnet that promised me the power to control time and let it unwind so the sands of time can solidify instead of being liquefied, running like warm water that's too fast to catch. The atoms are far apart and too quick to snatch as they pass through my fingers. And if time I could freeze, life would be a breeze, as I would have the chance at an eternity with no worry about becoming old and elderly. I would sharpen the frozen millennials into a ball so I can digest it all and become the father of time because I don't want to cherish the 50 years I have left. I want to value the eternity I have after my own lifespan. I feel it slowing, time that is. The sands clumps and molds around my toes. My seconds turn to hours, and the hours scour across the infinite space and fills the gaps in between, creating years, decades, and centuries that can't be seen but by me alone. And the key to immortal peace that I seek is come to be for me. Can't you see that I am free? From the hour hand that starts the countdown, I glued the hourglass together, piece by piece, and reinforced it with the ribs under my skin. The glass hardened and is equal as steel, so the sands of time can never spill. And I have become the father of time. It follows my will, not out of fear or fright, but for the love of life. A bond is forged between time and I, as time lends me an eternity, so I can pursue my love of knowledge and life as I struggle in strife, to satisfy my hunger for a better world and be a voice for the ages that seeks for all to reach greatness. I watch the billions of grains of sand that resembles each and every woman and man. I count the grains that elapse and watch the beautiful lives that have come to pass. That was it. But yeah, I wrote that, I say, about like 5 years ago.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's like
And
how like philosophical you were 5 years ago. That's insane. I was like a rock. That's how much brain activity there was going on in my head back then. No, that's
and
beautiful, man.
oh
That's
thanks.
beautiful.
It was actually funny because I wrote that on my lunch break when I worked at Lowe's, and it's just like for some reason I just had a moment where it quite literally felt like time just went sitting still, and then just all of that started to click together. But I still believe that to this day. I still believe that we're infinite. Able to achieve greatness. And I mean, to be honest, as much pain and suffering would come, I wouldn't mind living for an eternity because at least I'd have the privilege to see how beautiful we can become in the long run.
Well, like how some people say that this is all just the matrix, or that we're in a simulation,
Hmm.
or that we get reincarnated. Like there's all these theories of like what happens after, at the end of life, whenever you die.
Yeah.
But like nobody really knows, where does it start, where does it end? Did time really start whatever 2.3 billion years ago with the Big Bang?
Mm.
Are we in a simulation, whatever, but I mean, what if your first memory to your last memory really is all that you get to experience? There's not like a point after life whenever you get to go into spectator mode and like watch the
Yeah.
world pass by for thousands of years. Like, is this, in some ways, this is forever, you
Hmm.
know like we are just living in an internal moment, and we're seeing things pass by. But if you ever watch Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson,
Yeah, I've
they
seen some of it.
lay out the entire cosmic calendar. So like the first day of the year is the Big Bang, and the last day of the year is present day, and the entirety of like humans being on Earth is like the last
Just tiny
weekend
little speck of dust.
of the year or something. Yeah, it's tiny. um but like, what if that cosmic calendar is just whenever you're born to whenever you die? Then
Mhm.
like you really are experiencing forever in some ways, because whatever, maybe there was trillions of people before us, maybe there's going to be trillions after, but if we
Hmm.
never even experience that or see them, or like, how do we know? It's not
Yeah.
material. It's like, that's one of the things that freaks me out, is that, like, I don't know what's going on in China right now. I can't even, like, say that I do. Even if I see it on the news, like, how do I know this
Right.
is real live video of China? Like, it could be just some set in the middle of Hollywood where they're making it look like there's a fire or something
Yeah.
in China. Like, I don't really know unless I'm there to touch it. And, like, how do we know that the rest of time happened, that there was Egyptians and that there was cavemen before men, that there was dinosaurs before the animals that are here now? Like, we don't really know because we weren't there to touch it. But if you think of time as just what you were able to experience and, like, touch and see, realistically, we're living the entire cosmic calendar. Like, that's our life.
Hmm.
So you really do experience forever. There's a Queen song called "Who Wants to Live Forever," and one of the lyrics is that there's only one sweet moment set aside for us,
Hmm.
you know, and it's like, it's kind of weird. There's, like, a lot of stuff going on right now, so I'm sorry if this is, like, overwhelming, but
Oh no, you're fine.
just, like, our perception of time, like, what is it? Like, is time a thing, or is it just something that our minds created?
Hmm.
It just so happens that the sun goes up every 24 hours and it goes down every 24 hours, whatever. Like, if we just ignored all that and we didn't have a sense of time at all, like, what would happen? You know, like,
Right.
maybe we wouldn't even age. Like, we don't know. Maybe all these changes that happen on us is because of these weird parameters that we put on ourselves. It's
Yeah.
pretty odd, and I don't know, it kind of freaks me out, bro. But yeah,
Yeah.
I feel
Well,
like that poem kind of just made me think of that, because it almost puts the reader in a position of thinking of themselves as the father of time. As you were writing it, of course, right? You
mhm,
were putting yourself in that position. But then as a reader, you listen and you're like, I am the father of time. And, like, everyone's the father of time, their own time, you
mhm,
know? And they're almost like your own little parallel universe. Is your life, your perspective is one universe, and mine's over here. And, like, we're going to see and perceive different things
mhm.
that are completely different, but are technically all on the same playing field.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. That's very
So that
crazy.
was a pretty psychedelic thought.
Yeah. And, I just remembered too, literally, because I know that we are gonna say, we're gonna talk about you being in the army. We literally waited all the way till the end to talk about that. But yeah, let's go and talk about it, because you're in the army, or you're not the army, in the Navy, right?
Yeah, the Navy. Yeah. So
Yeah. How's that
it's a pretty
experience been
hard
for you?
digression there, Josh.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Totally segueing.
Yeah, sorry. I just remembered that. I was like, oh wait, we didn't even talk about the fact that you joined the Navy and everything and your experience so far.
Well, let's keep it short. Fuck the Navy. No, I'm kidding. Well, to key it in with everything that we just talked about, I feel like the Navy's great and I don't regret my service at all, but it really has almost forced me to quiet down all these thoughts. Like, it's
Mhm.
closed my mind. It's made it more narrow, or it tried.
Yeah.
So it's been a constant battle to stay as thoughtful as I have here in this podcast.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I mean, again, let me know if we're getting into deep waters, right? And I don't even know. Maybe I'm going to deep waters, but I'm kind of flying off
I
the
could always
handle
cut it
lately.
out.
So we'll just fucking send it.
If anything, I could
Anyway,
always cut it
uh,
out.
as I was saying earlier, I'm a man of the Constitution, and I swore an oath to protect it. Um, it is my firm belief that this country and that this military is no longer carrying out that mission. Um, and again, it's maybe a result of the good times we're in. There's not a real war. We just pulled out of Afghanistan, but, like, that wasn't something that I think anybody was holding with the same gravity as World War II or World War One. Where it was everybody in the country is thinking about it every day. Like, we have to do something to help the war effort. I have somebody that's in the war. You know, it's not
Hmm.
like that. And it wasn't like that with Afghanistan, at least not recently. Maybe closer to 2001 it was, but um, we're just in good times right now. And I don't know. It's a little bit scary, you know, with the climate that we're in. And I feel like we've strayed very far from the Constitution. And I personally think that if I'm going to serve a government or a military that's supposed to be protecting it, then I would like it to fulfill that mission. And I don't think it's
Yeah.
doing that any longer. So, long story short, I'm supposed to be getting out next June, and I hope that that happens. um, if we go back to Afghanistan, then there might be a draft or a involuntary extension of orders. I don't know,
Hmm.
but yeah. In addition to that, on another point, this might be cut out or whatever, but um, they are going to be mandating the vaccine soon, and I disagree with the vaccine. I won't be getting it, and they might kick me out of the military. So that could be happening very, very soon. So I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
I've
you
been
for having
hearing a
that.
lot of the mandate vaccines and the controversy around it because yeah, it's like just having conversation in general right now about the vaccine is like "Ugh," because of how people are. Regardless, we need to have the conversation because that's the point of it. And I don't know. It's yeah. I mean, that's a very difficult thing to do with trying to mandate a vaccine because like obviously you have to first raise the question whether or not they have the authority to do so because like trying to think of an example because I mean like for example with our first amendment right we have the right to free speech without any type of government entity or body interfering with our way of life. And actually I have the constitution actually handbook right up on my shelf. But I don't know, it's mandatory vaccine is a very touchy subject because I mean if you have any type of different disagreeing opinion or different view on the vaccine, then you're just immediately labeled as anti-vaxxer. You're refusing to take it and everything. And a lot of those words are subliminal and manipulative, like using the word refuse. People are refusing to use the vaccine. It's not so much that people are refusing, it's just some people are declining. Just like there are people that say, and no, I won't get the tetanus shot, and no, I won't get the flu shot, or like, and no, I don't feel like going out tonight. That's not that's not making them antisocial. That's not making them a villain or anything. It's just they disagree. And it's I may be overstepping as well. Again, I could be entirely wrong about this. Everything I say, and I accept it wholeheartedly. I accept the criticism, but I don't know. I don't feel like mandating the vaccine is a smart move because, after all, this is America. We have our constitutional rights, we have our God given rights, and our natural rights. And we should have a say in what foreign substances enter our body, especially since the whole topic of the vaccine has been so propaganda. Prop, there's been so much propaganda around it that, first off, you can't even tell the difference between fact and fiction with everything going on the vaccine because how much propaganda is being circulated around to begin with. And then because people are becoming so close-minded that the moment you say anything that doesn't fit their narrative, they just shut you out or just attack you. And I'm also seeing the issue of it's for the greater good. Yeah, no, it's the greater good. Using that term has always led to more evil and carnage in history. Like based off the history that I read, what happened during Soviet Union when Joseph Stalin, Vladimir Lenin was rising power, it was for the greater good. Kim Jong Un and his ancestors rise to power in North Korea was for the greater good. Pol Pot in Cambodia, when he uh, indoctrinated children into his ideology, and those children ended up wiping out entire villages, that was for the greater good. With Idi Amin in Uganda, it was for the greater good. With the president of Zimbabwe, it was for the greater good. And those are just examples, historical examples. But it's in regards to like the vaccine, we need to be able to balance out the importance of not only the greater good, but the individual. Because if you start to neglect and target the individual for the essence of the greater good, at what point do you have to look at yourself in the mirror and realize and come to the fruition that maybe you are the evil that's coming to fruition? If that makes sense. And again, that's my own tangent, and I could be entirely wrong about that. I accept being wrong wholeheartedly, especially because around the vaccine. So it's like this is open, speculative thought, personal opinion. We're not saying that anything is grounded or permanent, but we're exercising our right to speak freely and to think freely because you know what? That's what America is about. We were raised on the ideas of America and the essence of it's okay for us to be who we are and to express ourselves. And we shouldn't have any type of societal force, government force, or anything of that nature pressuring us like that. It's we're
Yeah,
allowed to have our own decisions.
I am so supportive of the Constitution and why I'm proud to be an American, why that I like America is because it's outlined a system that's so flexible that I mean, if you really do follow it, it should be very possible for anyone of any background, any passion, any lifestyle to come here, live their life, and support, if not have zero effect on the productivity of the country. If you're
Hmm.
here, you're living here as a good citizen, you're supporting the country to some degree. You don't have to become a top CEO
Hmm.
of a Fortune 500 company to support the economy. You can be living on a small piece of land in the middle of nowhere of
Hmm.
Alaska, and you're still going to be paying some taxes or something of that nature to support the country and
Hmm.
whatever we are moving forward to achieve as a, a country. Um,
Hmm.
and I love that. I really do because it doesn't matter if you're on the left, on the right, if you're anti-vax, for vax, if you're just benevolent to it all. Like you don't want to be involved in any of this stuff. You can still just find your place, live
Hmm.
there, try to be happy, and you will be supporting the country in some way. Um, and I think that's awesome.
Hmm.
That's why it's something that I support. And I feel that doing things like this, mandating a vaccine or you know, other very extreme things like this is going against the Constitution and why I don't support it. I just feel like
Hmm.
if you want to get it, go get it. If you
Hmm.
don't,
Yeah,
you know,
individual liberty.
individual liberty. And that's just the amazing thing about America is that the individual can do what the individual does and it will still support the greater good. So that now that they're trying to wipe that away and circumvent it to where it's just like no, the individual must do what's for the greater good
Hmm.
is false because just being here is for the greater good you know
Hmm.
and again, maybe I can be the more extreme person here and you can stay more objective and try to be the mediator between me and society. But that's one of my viewpoints on immigration is that let people in, let them become citizens because as soon as they do, they're going to be paying taxes, they're going to be buying products, they're going to support the country.
Hmm.
There's no way around that either. More
Yeah.
people here means more economic stimulation. So I don't see anything wrong with it. However, with all the negative things that come with bad people that come across the border, whether or
Yeah.
not they're of that race, because we have two borders, we have immigration from flights,
Hmm.
and now there's probably gonna be many people that are angry about Afghanis coming here as refugees, so
Yeah.
there's risks with all of that. But needless to say, the more people in the country, the more economic stimulation. The more economic stimulation, the better our capitalistic society will run. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, no, you're not far fetched on that at all, and you are pretty spot on with it. I would also add to it as well. What was I gonna say? Um, Yeah, like I have no like bringing people in, have them go through the process and they become citizens. That's what the American dream is. That's why there's always been the sense of urgency for whenever there's some type of serious world conflict and they're refugees as a result. They typically come to the US. I mean, they'll go to other countries as well, but the US is a very common one for it. Welcome the people in. Let's get them through the process. Let's make them citizens so we can all benefit from it, but we have to acknowledge that we have to have some caution in the wind, because I mean the fact that 60% of human trafficking victims across the southern states are Hispanic, that's like a clear indicator of some issue and whatnot. I could probably be going off tangent with that, but yeah, no, but I agree with what you're saying, and it's not too far-fetched. It's a reasonable conversation, especially around an important issue, which conversation is needed in order to help find solutions for that issue.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I fear if they do make, because this is how I've described it. It's already worrying me that the government is going to mandate it for its military and government employees. The next step after that would be mandating it for the citizens,
Mhm.
which I feel is quite unconstitutional. And I think the next step towards our hard times created by weak men, and closer to a 1984 Big Brother style of life, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
So, uh, if that does happen, I think that bad things will ensue, or at least bad things will start to
Mhm.
build. So
Yeah.
I hope they don't. But
Yeah. Yeah, no, I kind of get that I've been getting that same vibe. 1984 Anthem by Ayn Rand, We the Living. And I mean they're fictional books, but the people that wrote them lived through these things. So they purposely put lessons and truths into it. And I don't think we should discount their lessons at all. I think we, especially nowadays, we need to look very closely at it. And, of course, as I keep on repeating as a broken record, it's could be completely wrong and is what it is. Okay with the criticism. I'm okay with being wrong. But yeah, I won't lie, I get some of the 1984 vibes, Big Brother vibes, stuff like that. Especially if you try to mandate it across everyone. Because again, the beauty of individual liberty is that if you've done your research and you feel safe and you want to take the vaccine, go right ahead. If you want to still wear a mask, go right ahead. That is your choice. Now respect those decisions. But you create an issue where you try to generalize and enforce that across everybody, because just like that person has the right to get the vaccine and to wear a mask, there's the other side where people have a right to not get the vaccine and not wear a mask. We just got to learn to respect that, not be so quick to attack and everything, because that's the problem with the greater good. Are we going to start seeing now that people who don't want the vaccine, don't want to wear masks, which are for various reasons, can either be perfectly logical reasons or completely irrational reasons? If they start getting attacked and targeted by the greater good, then there's a serious issue coming into frame. And then again, the biggest talking point that has existed in the U.S. ever since 1776, ever since the Constitution was ratified in 1778, it has always raised the question of what authority our government has, not what it can, not what all it's supposed to do, but if it has the authority. And considering that, like mandates for all citizenry and then like all military and everything, yeah, I feel like that's stepping into some unconstitutional boundaries. And again, I'm not a law expert. I'm not anything like that. I could be completely wrong, but I have the Constitution. I've read it. I even have highlights of it all throughout. And I also do my best to do my own research. Like I have John Adams' American Revolution, 1776 by David McCulloch. I have the Federalist Papers by Alexander Hamilton. I have um, books by Thomas Jefferson. So I am quite literally
nice.
doing, yeah, and like right here, Thomas Paine. Oh shit, I accidentally knocked my stuff. But Thomas Paine was one of the most pivotal um, writers during the American Revolution. He also wrote Common Sense. There's He also has The Rights of Man. There's also Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who wrote On Social Contract. So it's like I'm not going into these conversations completely blinded and not like understanding the full grasp of it. And I'm doing my best to research it, but the research and studying that I'm doing, I'm going straight to the very beginning of what America was and started out as. And I'm moving from there. And I'm just kind of starting from there and moving my way up through our history because I mean, you can't really have, I don't want to say you can't have an opinion, but you don't really know and understand the full grasp of things unless you do that research.
Yeah, I can definitely understand where you're coming from. It definitely brings a little bit more credibility if you can say that you read the original writings of many of the people who constructed the Constitution. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, no, I agree with you there. Um, and I don't know. I feel like anybody who's watched to this point is gonna want to know. But as far as my reasoning for not getting it, it's so I always get it right out of the way in the beginning. It's not like a medical thing, right? Like I'm not afraid of the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm a fucking unit, and that anything you put in my body's either gonna take on board or destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just a joke. Because if you load fucking like rattlesnake venom into my veins, you're probably gonna kill me. But anyway, no, I'm not really afraid of the vaccine. I know enough people that have gotten it that seem fine right now. Whatever
Yeah, same.
long-term effects, fuck it. Like we'll see what happens in 10 years. Maybe none of them will be affected at all. Um, so it's not like I'm scared of it from like a scientific point or a medical standpoint. It's literally just uh the sketch about it. Like it's sketchy. How many people I know that have had it that got over it just fine, and that it's the same exact symptoms as the flu, the cold, a bunch of things that it could be,
Mm-hmm.
and that I I'm pretty sure my 90-year-old great grandma had it, and it's right before she passed, but you know, she had it and she got over it.
Mm-hmm.
My parents have had it. I'm pretty sure I've had it. My grandparents have had it. Like plenty of people that I know personally. I knew them here in Connecticut at work, had it. People back home had it. Like there's just so many countless cases of people that I know personally that I can say anecdotally, not from like reading a fucking thing online, that
Mm-hmm.
have had it and they're fine.
Yeah.
And then they want to push it on us and tell us that it's going to save the world and that it's for the greater good. And I just don't see the proof in the pudding. And like I
Yeah.
just don't. Like it seems like the amount of hype that they're making for it and the actual what I'm seeing are so far from each other. There's such a disparity in like the realness and what they're making it out to be, that it makes me very uncomfortable to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been telling people, like, if they didn't have a season, if the military didn't tell me to go to medical and get my vaccine for the flu, I probably would forget about it
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't affect me that much. Like I don't notice it until someone says, "Hey, you're up for your vaccine." That's really the only reason I go to get the flu vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And if the vaccine had been FDA approved and put onto that panel that I get every year without any hubbub about it, then it would have gone in my system, no questions, if and or buts.
Yeah.
So what else is there? It's really just that. It's that uneasiness about how big they're exploding it to be,
Mm-hmm.
whenever from experience on the ground in fucking cities, in towns with real people, it does not seem like it needs to be up here. So
Yeah.
why are they doing that? Right. And I've
Yeah.
made the comment before, they're mandating it to the military. What is a better way of getting people that aren't willing to listen to the government out? Mandate this vaccine, and anybody who's willing to be a counter thought to the government and what they want are going to get kicked out,
Mm-hmm.
which is me, right? Like I'm counter, like I don't trust what they're saying. I don't agree with it. So how can they get me out? They're going to mandate the vaccine and get me out. And now all that's going to be left in the military are the people that are willing to follow everything
Yeah.
that the government says. So if we're leading to this Big Brother 1984 style of government, it kind of
Yeah.
seems like the plan's carrying out. Like it kind of freaks me out in that way, like just on a bigger grand scale. If there's a revolution, if there's like socialist, communist takeover or whatever, um, these are the kind of things that I'm thinking about whenever they're mandating the vaccine and how dramatic they're being about it when it really doesn't seem like that big of a deal realistically.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's why I won't be getting it.
Yeah.
And if they kick me out, then I see it as a good thing because I don't want to support a military that's going to do that type of thing. I don't want to support a country that's going to do that type of thing. I support the Constitution, but currently the US government is not something that I agree with very often. So
Yeah.
that's that.
Yeah, and see, like right there is basically the gray area and the semantics that people are being blatantly ignorant about. Like it's either they're people are making it either black and white. It's either you take it or you don't. You're either a vaxxer or an anti-vaxxer. You're either a masker or anti-masker. It's like no, there is semantics. There's a gray area in between. The gray area in between is where we're going to be able to have conversation to identify the the ratio between the risks and the rewards. It is where we're going to identify the pros and the cons and where we're going to see if there are any potential issues. Because like yeah, it's in the long term, like could the vaccine have an effect on you, say 5, 10 years from now in a bad way, or not at all? Like we won't know until we find out. But
No, yeah.
yeah, but the more that especially the government and then our mainstream media, the more that you censor, the more that you try to control the speech around vaccines and everything and push it so hard in the essence of the greater good, the more pushback you're going to get as a result. And
And they have to know that.
yeah,
They do, which
yeah,
makes it even more sketch that they
hmm
would continue to push it.
yeah, exactly. And
It's just
like the and so like part of it that I do understand with the government is the incentives aspect because um like for example during like all the civil rights movements in the mid to late 1900s when the government was getting involved in redoing the districts of all the school areas to try to uh, more immerse the different ethnic and racial groups together to kind of eliminate the isolation and the separatism. That was the same instance as well. It was just the gray area, the semantics and whatnot, and then same with like affirmative action and everything as well. It's just they can't enforce it, so they have to offer incentives as a substitute. You offer kind of like, for example, during war times, the government would sell bonds. The By selling bonds, that gives an incentive for the citizenry to cooperate with the government, and in return, the government is getting resources and supplies for the war. So like right now, because they cannot enforce or mandate the vaccines, they're offering incentives instead, which I do understand. But yeah, it's the extent that it's getting pushed, the amount of societal pressure that's coming from it, it just doesn't sit right. And like I'm not making myself to be out anti-vaxxer either. It's if you want the vaccine, go ahead and get it. I'm not gonna hold you back from it. And I'm not
oh
gonna
yeah.
try to
Yeah, no.
brainwash you or like manipulate or like, oh my god, you got the vaccine. Oh my god, what the hell is wrong with you? Like
Yeah.
stuff like that. I'm not gonna do that because I got
No, yeah.
family
My
and friends
roommate
around
got
me.
the vaccine. Like I'm not and I don't look at
Exactly.
him differently. Like it's like whatever, you know.
Yeah,
Again, it's
exactly.
free choice. And I guess that might get muddied a little bit because I was getting pretty passionate about my argument, right? Like I don't make my argument to convince anybody else. I'm
Yeah,
just
it's just
saying
our
that
own
I
argument.
passionately feel like that for myself. Like that's
Right.
how strongly in myself I'm convinced not to get it. Not that I'm saying to anybody else, like, hey,
Yeah.
here's my argument. Now you have it. You have it. Like so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
But
I'll say it right now. You and I we're having a genuine honest conversation between ourselves and trying to disseminate the echo chambers we have around the subject. We're
sure.
not acting like we are all knowing in this, and we're not acting like we have our own narrative and that's the way to go. It's again just individual liberty, your own personal choice. It's we're not here to hate on anybody. I mean, the jokes and everything, talking shit on people and whatnot, but especially with the amount of all these people that are trying to influence others, especially like influence to take the vaccine or stuff like that and everything. I just don't like the pressure. I don't like the peer pressure at all. That's why because obviously technically we're influencers as well. I mean, we're just a speck
Yeah.
of dust in the grand scheme, but on a technical term, we're influencers trying to influence people to an extent. And with that being said, I do not seek to influence or manipulate Buddy in any negative connotation whatsoever, nor do I have any malicious intent. I know I'm a good man, and I know I only want to do good things. I'm not going to act like I am the all-knowing person on especially subject matters like this, but I'd at least like to have the conversation just for there. And for everybody that watches, don't don't take what we say at face value. Do your research. Do not Again, just don't take it at face value. Don't be like with the clickbaiting and just immediately go based off what you see. Do your research. You do your research and then you make your own choice of whether or not you want the vaccine or you don't want the vaccine. And I will respect that decision. If everyone that I know gets the vaccine and if I'm the only person that doesn't get it or the other way around or whatever, it is what it is. I respect your rights, so please respect mine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
We went really deep with all this.
No, that's the best
Yeah,
thing. It's gonna make some pretty sick clips, I think. So
exactly. Yeah, and I mean, right now, all people, it seems like all society, or I wouldn't say all society, but a good chunk of society, all they care about now is hate and drama and everything. But that'll just create its own light in its own eyes. So I welcome the criticism. I welcome it. And all I see it as is an opportunity for me to figure out whether or not I'm in the wrong or if I am in the right and being pressured by society. But I will definitely say I will not sit by with idle hands and allow myself to be pushed around or stepped on when I feel I am given such knowledge and talents and I have no delusions of grandeur, nor do I feel like I am superior in any way. But when you feel like you are such a capable person and you feel like you have the capacity to make a change, you almost need to capitalize on it.
yeah, I mean that kind of is exactly what I was saying earlier with like
Mm,
realizing that you're capable of infinite excellence.
mhm,
So go get it. Like that's the maybe that is the burden of being in our position is feeling underqualified but still trying. Like
mm,
still trying to capitalize on what you can, scraping what you can out of it. And like we talked about it offline, I think, but just like it's not gonna be perfect in the beginning. This
mm.
is whatever yours and my first year or so in YouTube. Like it's not gonna be the same as a 10-year YouTube channel
Exactly.
that's been doing it for that long, perfecting it. And just to parallel that with uh, the way that things are going, like I don't mind if everything in the world goes the opposite to the way that I wanted. I mean, that is balance, right? It's like it's going
Mhm,
from this way to this way. And like maybe at first you go a little too far. So you got to overcorrect. But like
mhm.
eventually, once you find balance, it's just this little tiny back and forth. It's not
Yeah,
perfect, but you're still going to like come over here a little bit, go over
yeah,
there
a
a
little
little
bit like
bit. Like
teeter.
that is balance, right? So there's always going to be a time whenever things aren't going our way. And then it's going to bounce back and come our way and all that
Mhm.
jazz. So,
Yeah,
um, you just gotta find it. Just gotta bounce back and forth. What's good, what's bad, and figure it out.
yeah, and
So
like my mindset is, it's like you said, we're just starting out. Let us grow. Let us thrive. Let us acknowledge our mistakes and let us build ourselves. This is an evolution stage because we're coming from being just like normal people now entering into the spotlight and everything. So just let us grow. Let us give us room for error and to grow based off of it, and watch us evolve into something beyond your wildest imagination, and show and shock the world with what we're capable of.
Possible. It's all possible.
Mhm. Most certainly.
Yeah.
Well, I think that wraps it up. Freaking fantastic, honestly, fantastic episode for hitting episode 10, the milestone. Got 2.5 hours. Damn, I'm proud of you. Proud of us.
No, I thought it was sick, and
Yeah,
I was liking where it was going. So
yeah,
no, I was good for it. And
yeah,
I always try to make sure it's on off day because I don't know how long it's gonna be or how short it's gonna be. And like,
yeah,
um, see, and this is what I was saying. I was like, we have those little show notes of like stuff that we're supposed to hit, but I knew it was gonna derail and then do like a whole hour and a half of just something totally not even written down.
yeah. I
So
literally I only wrote down these things. Just introduce my episode as Josh said what. Talk about lifting. Talk about you joining the army, or sorry, the Navy. I keep on making that mistake. And then to read that poem that I wrote. That was literally it.
yeah. Well, that's pretty sick, dude. I'm pretty happy that like this is like the milestone level 10 or episode 10, and then like the announcement of the new title. That's pretty sweet. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I could be here for it.
Yeah,
But
I'm
yeah.
glad you could be on. Honestly, I love the conversation. You're a great person to have on.
No, yeah, it was fun. And I've it's kind of funny that you hit me up because I was like, I've periodically throughout time just thought about doing a podcast, but then, I don't think I would ever pull the trigger. And like, I have this mic and my computer's like pretty solid, but I just don't think up enough stuff, I think, to have a regular podcast show. But to be a
Yeah.
guest or even like a co-star or something is just, I think, right down my alley because I don't think I'm like a lead character, but I'm definitely like a good supporting actor,
Yeah. And I mean too,
So,
this is just, you can see it too. This is just refining your skills and gain experience.
mm,
Like me, for example, I am an absolute idiot with technology. I can't tell you how many computers I've gone through. I don't understand any of the technical editing stuff, period. But it's just each time we do this, it's experience. And so
yeah,
yeah,
no, I mean, seems like you're getting on pretty good if that's really the case.
yeah. Yeah, man,
No.
it just comes with time, and yeah, who knows? Maybe I don't know how long in the future, but you start your own podcast, and this will be a stepping stone to help kind of build that resume.
Yeah, sure could be.
Yeah. All right, sweet. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. Hope we didn't offend you too bad, or you don't like us too much, or whatever
I
else.
hope we did offend you.
uh, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, but anyways, again, this podcast is about changing the world. We're about promoting peace, love, unity, and harmony, and none of that hate, none of that bullshit. We only seek to be better and to do better on this podcast. So again, spread that message, like, share, subscribe, share with everyone. Give a shout out to Adam. He's an amazing guest. He's an amazing person to have on. Great conversation person. And yeah, but yeah, we'll go ahead and see you in the next one.
Do more cardio.